Hey guys, welcome to Johnny Ray's Backwoods Guns. I'm shooting a video for my reload channel tonight, my YouTube channel, Reload with Johnny Ray. If you watch this on Facebook, see if you can check this out. You might pick up a little loading tip. But anyway, tonight I'm loading 223s, 5.56s, which one you want to call it. We're going to try to incorporate a more in-depth loading process, how I trim my brass, how I prep my brass, how I get exact loads, how I get all my ammo to be more concentric, more uniform, and how I just put it all together. Usually I make my videos 15-20 minutes long, but this one's going to be a little bit longer. So stick around guys, I'll show you my crazy process. Okay guys, tonight I was going to use Sierra bullets, so I looked at my Sierra loading manual to get some load data. Well, the problem is these 77 Match King, tipped Match Kings, it's a new bullet. They aren't in this book, so I got on the internet and checked out a couple places. And while I was on the internet, I learned a few things. I'm going to try to pass them on to you. But I'm going to load with 22.5 grains of AR-comp. 77 grain tip Match Kings, CCI number 41s, and I'm going to use all three of these dies. I'm going to use a small base 224 die. I'm going to use my competition 308 die, but I'm going to change the guts in them and put a 22 caliber bullet guide and a 22 caliber cedar plug in it, and then I'm going to use 223 Lee neck size collet dies. So it ought to be interesting. I'm going to go more in depth today on how I prep my brass. But whenever I go to, and how I load my loads and make sure my ammo's right, whenever I do that, I always try to check a couple things out first. So let's get started. First of all, I want to check my scales. All right, I'm going to use two scales today. So just grab a 5, a 10, whatever you want. Drop them in here. That's actually a no-no. You never drop anything on your scales. Just set it on your scale. That's reading 4.99. Take it off, let it stabilize. 4.99. Take it off. Check my Hornady scale. 5. Take it off. 5. That's a 5 gram weight. So that's why I use two scales. I don't really care if they're exact. I just want them to be consistent. So my scales, I already calibrated them earlier. I just want to show you that I was checking the weight on them. Okay guys, I got on the Sierra website today and read a little bit about these new tipped Match King 77s. These bullets are a little bit longer than usual. And they said a lot of the seating plugs were leaving rings around them on highly compressed loads. It's not hard to compress these loads, especially with stick powder. With about 23 grain or higher, you're going to get probably a compressed load. So that's why I picked 22.5. And Sierra gave a little fix for these bullets. So I'm going to show you how I fixed my seating plug. What I'm going to do, here's my competition die. Okay, like always, I take the top off. And I figure out what caliber I'm going to shoot. And I pick the right cedar plug. This is a 22 caliber cedar plug. Okay, I already changed it. This is a 22 caliber bullet guide. Okay, if you want to shoot 30 caliber, use the 30 caliber bullet guide and a 30 caliber cedar plug. But today we're using it for 224s, so I put the 22 caliber in it. And they say to take some polishing compound and take a bullet and chuck it in your press, in your drill. And they say to polish it a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. I put a bullet in my drill. I'm going to put a little bit of polishing compound on this bullet. I'm going to stick it in my cedar plug. And I'm just going to polish it up. That way there's no rough edges on the inside that cedar plug, on that seating stem. Okay, I think that's enough. I'm going to remove that bullet. Set it over here. Set this down. I'm going to clean that polishing compound out there. Now my cedar plug, my seating die is all set up. So now I'm going to polish my Lee neck collet die. They say take the mandrel out and polish it up so you get real good consistent neck tension. So that's what we're going to do next. Lee collet neck size of die. In Lee Reloading, this is their flagship die. They're so proud of this die. This is the ultimate for them. The design on it works great. We'll take the guts out. We'll look at the guts. When your brass goes up in it and you run your ram up and it hits on the top of your die, it squeezes down on these collets, and they squeeze your neck with an even amount of pressure. This mandrel sizes the inside of your neck. Now Lee sells these a little bit smaller, a couple hundred thousandths for the 224, the 30 caliber, the 270. They've got about 5 or 6 if you want more neck tension. But for these purposes today, I don't need more neck tension. Now you want to put some grease on this, inside of this, because this is going to have to close and seat or shape your neck. Chuck my seating stem, my mandrel in my drill, tighten it up a little bit. I take some 1500 grit to 2000 grit sandpaper, and I just polish the outside of that up real good, real fast. I don't spend but about 30-40 seconds on it. I'll try to not run the drill when I'm talking, but that's how I polish it up, make sure there's no nicks and scratches or whatnot. So I'll get this done, we'll put this die back together. Okay guys, I got a little bit of grease here. Like I said, I'm just going to put a little grease on this die. Rode around a little bit. I put grease on the inside of this flange. Drop it down in my the housing of the die. Drop my mandrel down. Now my my neck sizing die is set up, okay? My competition cedar plug is set up, okay? So, and my scales are weighted, or calibrated and weighted and checked. They're all good. So I think we're pretty much set to get started. We'll start on the brass next. Okay guys, I'm going to size my brass with a small base die because I'm going to shoot it out of an AR. So I want the SAMI specs, I want it below SAMI specs so it'll cycle good. But then I'm going to neck size it with this Lee neck sizing collet die. So what I'm going to do, save myself from working my brass real hard, I'm going to take my decapping pin and my neck expander decapping pin out, okay? I already de-primed this brass. I figured you didn't need to see me de-prime. I used a Lee universal decapping die so it wouldn't mess with my brass. Of course, you throw a little lube on, and I already set my die up. Run your ram up. Set it where it touches, back it off, move it a half turn to a full turn, and then it's set. So I'm going to size my brass. Everything but the neck. I'll come back and do the neck last. I'm not going to do all these. I'm just going to save you the pain of watching me. But I small base size them, okay? Now I'm going to go trim them all. Let's go trim these. Be right back. Okay guys, most of my calibers, I use one of these Lee trim gauges, put it in my trimming stone, cutting head, and I screw this into my lineman case prep machine, and I trim like that. But where I shoot so much 223, I bought one of these world finest trimmer heads. Okay, and I set the trim length to 17.51, 17.52 right in there. So of course, I'm just going to trim 2 real fast. You don't need to watch me trim them all, but here we go. Just hold it up in there. That's how I trim. It gets a real good consistent trim. Should be 1752. So I'll check the other one. I'll go ahead and trim these off camera, and I'll meet you at my, 1752. I'll meet you at my brass prep machine. I want to get this brass as uniform as possible, okay? So I'm going to uniform my primer pockets, my flash holes, with my little RCBS tool. I do both sides. I do from the primer in, I do it real light. I'm just making sure everything's clear. Then I want to check my depth on these primer holes. So I have this little tool. It cuts your depth. I just spin it around there. I would hook it up to my case prep machine, but I snapped that thread on one of my deburring tools. I snapped it off. So anyway, I've got a primer decrimper, a military decrimper. I'm using Lake City brass, so it's got the crimp in it. So I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to grind that crimp off, reform it, whatever you want to call it. This is a brush. I'm going to clean the primer pocket. Then I'm going to chafe, and then I'm going to deburr. So it's pretty simple. I'll just do 2. Chafe the inside. Deburr. Chafing is real important so you get a nice center when your bullet gets seated, and so your run out is as close to 0 as possible. Same process on the second one. I'm going to, really doesn't matter, uniform the flash holes. Cut the depth, make sure it's right. Get rid of that military crimp. Now there's a lot of swaging tools out there. I kind of like this one the best. Clean my primer pocket. Chafe the inside of my neck. And deburr the outside and the inside real good. I know I used to use this to chafe and deburr. But if you do 300, 400, 500 of these 2-3 days in a row, this gets real old, guys. So I stepped up to this. I'll redo all this brass, the rest of this brass off camera, and we will get on with the seating process and powder seating, priming, all that stuff. Be right back. Sizing my brass with the small base sizing die first. I took my decapping pin out and my neck sizing decapper out of it. Expander ball. I'm going to stick my lead collet die in here. Run the ram up till it touches. All right, it's touching. Now Lee says to on RCBS or any other die except any other press except for Lee, they say to give it 2 full turns. So that's why I put that index mark there. There's 1. There's 2. If you notice, I already had that set up. So now I'm just going to size the necks. Okay, the average guy, if he wants to tighten up his groups, these Lee neck sizing collet dies are perfect. Most guys aren't going to neck turn, trim a little on the outside of the neck down. I've got a neck wall thickness gauge, but I'm not going to dig it out. So anyway, we're just going to run these through here. I want to use a little lube just because I polished that mandrel up, and I'm going to size all these necks. Lee says if you run it through twice and turn your brass, it's better for it. So that's what we're going to do. All right, I'll do all these and then we'll prime. Okay, I used this press a minute ago to decap, Lee decapping. Let's get this decapping, universal decapping die out. I use this because it doesn't size the brass at all. I'm going to prime on this press But I'm going to go ahead and set my flaring die up. I've already got the lock nut set at the right depth. So that's tight. I've got a primer in here. So I'm going to prime off my press. Load my brass. Nice even feel to it. Looks nice, concave. Looks real good, guys. It's that's ready to flare. Now I'm just going to run it up. And that likely, just put a little flare on it. I'm trying to make it where it will center the bullet and it'll go down easy. The bottom of bullets, the base, the boat tail, that's not a very good, it's not going to size your brass real good unevenly. It's going to do it unevenly most of the time. So the more help you can give it, I think the more run out, the better the run out is. All right, let me get on the rest of these, and I'll do one more for you. Drop a primer in there, prime it, run it up, flare it. There you go. Nice, got a little flare looking on it, flare look, and the primer looks real good. That's why I like this Lake City brass. It's really good brass. I love it. All right, let's go to the next step. Well, I forgot to explain something. I'm going to take this Lee collet die out of here real fast, show you something, a real nice little tip. These Lee collet dies, you know, that mandrel, see how it's moving around there? When you shove the brass up there, it's going to use the primer pocket hole to center that mandrel up and really size that mandrel good, okay? Goes down, it's using that to, you finish your seat, and you size your neck. That helps guide it, and you see how it's moving a little bit. That helps self-center it. Okay, that's why if your primer pocket hole isn't dead center in your brass, then you're going to get shitty run out. Okay, that's why I like this Lake City brass. Most of your primer pockets, they are dead center. And when you inspect your brass, make sure you look for that, and make sure you don't have any off-center primer pocket holes. Perfecta, PPU, there's a couple of cheap brands that the primer pocket holes are punched out and they're all over the primer pocket. They're not in the dead center, but you definitely want to get one dead center. All right, guys, let's get to powder. Okay, guys, let's throw some powder. I'm going to throw 22.5. Okay, that's what my desired weight is. I'm going to use two different scales. So I'm actually going to set this Hornady to 22.3, and then I'm going to set it over on the RCBS, the new little 2000 scale, and I'm going to trickle up to 22.5. I'll grab my funnel, drop it on. I already set my little straw. Zero my scale. Should take off. Everybody knows these powder droppers are plus or minus 1. Now let's hit 0 one more time. They're plus or minus 1. So even if it throws over to 22.4, it's going to give you a green light. So I go ahead and set it 2/10 back, and then I check it on my other scale, and I trickle it up to my desired weight. Hopefully it'll give us a green light. There we go. It says 22.3. Now let's set it on my RCBS scale, and let's see, that's why I use two different scales. Let's just lift off, set back down. Now what's happened here is I probably bumped my little straw when I pulled my powder out, well, my funnel out. So I'm going to try to knock a couple kernels out. Yeah, maybe a couple more. There we go. We're dead on at 22.5. So that's a good charge. I like having two funnels that weigh the same. That's why this one's trimmed off a little bit. So it'll zero. It'll start pouring while I'm fooling around with this. I'm going to drop my powder. See if we can get another green light. See, even if it goes over, that's fine. I don't have to start all over. I'm just going to rely on where I'm using two scales. See what it says. So these scales are line. One of them's line. But we're going to back this up to 22.5. I'm using this green scale to RCBS scale to confirm everything. 22.4. Now I'll just sit here and trickle a couple kernels out till it hits 22.5. We're almost there. There we go. 22.5. Let it stable. And I got me a correct charge. I'm not saying it's exactly 22.5. Any of these scales that cost $100, $200, guys, they're not like scales that cost $1,000. All right. These won't recognize one or two kernels at a time. They recognize 4 or 5 kernels at a time. So, needless to say, unless you want to spend $1,000 on a scale, this is the best way to get a consistent charge. To get good groups, of course, everybody knows you want your brass to be consistent. You're prepping your bullet seating, your powder charging, the whole 9 yards. So you want everything as consistent as possible. Let's throw one more. And then I'll throw the rest off of camera. Hopefully we'll get a green light. There we go, green light, 22.3. Just a good habit. See, that's 22.5, 22.6. I like to re-zero, set back down. So, of course, one of these scales is line. Let's see what happens. This is a problem with cheap scales. And actually, this RCBS 2000 is supposed to be real consistent. 22.5, that's what we were shooting for. So I'm going to leave it there and let it stabilize, make sure it's stable. Check it one more time, double, triple check. There you go. We're dead on. Now I'll powder the rest of these and we'll go on to seating my bullets. All right, one more thing before I start seating the bullets. If I'm really wanting to get consistent uniformity, all this finished product to be the same, I'll just real fast kick these 77 grain bullets and try to weigh them out. See, that one's 77. This one's 77. 77.1. We'll see if it stabilizes, drops one. Yep, 77. You got to give it a few seconds to stabilize, even if it says stable. 76.9, 77. So you get the idea of it. I just weigh all my bullets. They're going to weigh anywhere from 69.9, 77.0, 77.1. I try to get, if I'm loading 20 rounds, I try to get 20 that weigh the same, and so on, so forth. All right, let's get to seat, guys. All right, we're going to seat these bullets. Of course, this my brass is small base sized, neck sized, flared. We'll drop it in from the top. These competition seating dies, they hold that bullet center. It's a lot better than running from the bottom and it goes up crooked and then the die straightens out. That's centered up right now. So that's going to seat it. I'm going to check my length. I'm shooting for 226. That's 2281. So I need to take it down a little bit. I think that should be right. Seat it one more time. .2268. So let's crank down just a little bit more. .2263, 62. 2 clicks. We should be dead on. Got a little polishing compound inside that seating plug. 2260. Damn, that's perfect. Seat one more. Then we'll go to crimping. 2260. That's dead on balls accurate, I like to call it. All right, let's get this flaring die out of here. And let's get my crimp in here. I'll show you how to crimp this. And then I'll finish loading all these off camera. We'll come back and we'll check the concentricity and the weight and everything. Run it up. There's that crimp. That crimp. Just about right. All right, guys, I'll finish all this powder off, or charges, bullets, projectiles, whatever you like to call it. I'll finish it all off camera, and then we'll come back and we'll finish this thing up. But the finished product, I like to double check my precision ammo. I call it custom precision competition ammo, but it's just the best ammo I can build with the resources I have here. You can build better, but this is pretty damn good, okay? I'm going to take 5 or 6 of these. I'm going to weigh these out, see how close they weigh. As long as they weigh within 2 or 3 tenths, I don't care. You're going to have difference in workmanship of the brass and whatnot. That's 195.4. That was 195.8. This one, 0.7, 195.7, 195.7, 195.5. So they're all within 2-3 tenths of a grain. 195.6. Okay, let's take them and real fast. Let's. I drop them in my chamber checker. Make sure all of them will chamber. They do, so you know they're going to cycle in your guns. Now let's stick them on this Concentricity Tester. Let's pull this out here. Zero it just for the heck of it. You don't need to zero it. You're looking for plus or minus 1. If you grab it real hard, the gauge will move around. But that one's not too good. Let's see what the rest of them are. This one's plus or minus. This is plus or minus a half. It's closer than 1. You see I'm truly spinning it. That was number 2. Let's see what number 3 looks like. That's damn near perfect, plus or minus 1. If you re-zero every time, you'll get a better reading, but you can just watch the needle go up and down 1 or 2. That's what you want. Hornady says anything less than 2,000s is perfect. Not to mess with. I just like to use this to see how good I build ammo. I think when you neck size, you small base size, then you neck size, and then you flare, and then you crimp, I swear to God, I think that has something to do with the runouts. I think it corrects it all and straightens it all. As long as you use a good piece of brass and your primer hole is centered with your mouth of your bullets, so they're all within 1 or 2 thousandths run out, and there's 6. I can check all of them, guys, but it's just kind of crazy. Let me check the I'll check the ogive on this to the head stamp, Well, let me zero my scale. All right. That one's coming up 183. 183.5. 183.5. So the consistency of these Sierra bullets are just awesome. Just move your head stamp around a little bit. Make sure you get a good reading. I don't have an anvil on here, so it'll jump about a tenth just from twisting the head stamp. Look like they're all a consistent 183.5. 183.5. Okay, guys, the O job to the head stamp all coming out 183.5, 183.6. I mean, you can squeeze this mic as hard as you want to, but if you just try to get a good, consistent reading. Let's check the shoulder depth real fast. I like these tools because you can just compare other ammo that you just built, make sure it's all consistent. That's 145.3. 145.3 or 1.453. 1 point. I need to get me an anvil. That's coming out 1.452. I'll get an anvil next week. They're about $10. They've been out of them forever. 1.452. So they're all reading 1.453 or 1.452. 1.452. So my O job's all in sync. My weight's all in sync. 1.452. Yeah, 1.452. My run out was within 1 or 2 thousand. My weight was within 3 tenths. My O job to head stamp was all within being very consistent. My shoulder to head stamp was all very consistent. So I built some good ammo here. The key to groups, small groups over long distances is making sure you got the same amount of powder and your loading process is nice, clean, and clear. And you got your bullet depth you got the O job right, you use good components, your brass is all consistent. That's the best way I know how to do it. I checked it with the chamber checker. They was all seemed like they was all the correct size. You saw everything I did. I can do this all day. It's just going to keep repeating myself. But that's how I build my ammo with 3 different dies. Well, I used a flaring die, a crimping die, a decapping die. There's 3, 4, 5. I used 5 dies, 6 dies. Hell, I don't know. I used 2 scales. I used a trickler. I weighed my bullets. You saw me prep my brass. I'm trying to just stay as consistent and as thorough as possible. So within all my resources, that's the best I can do, guys. I'm sure there's other ways. There's a lot of ways to skin a cat. This is the only ways I know to skin a cat with the equipment I've got. So anyway, I'll bag this, catalog it, index it, and the next warm day I'll get off the range, but it won't be anytime soon. I think it's supposed to be 3 degrees tomorrow. I'm not going out and shooting in that. But leave me a comment. Leave me suggestions. I'll do a video on stuff you guys are interested in. I hope that answers your questions. I hope that helps enlighten your getting your run out to 0. Remember to subscribe, share, like, leave me a comment. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.